Now that you've completed the prep video tutorial on general education issues, you may be wondering about the process to address special education, discipline, discrimination, or English language learner issues. The next 4 videos address these problems specifically, and this one will discuss resolving special education issues. This video tutorial is provided by PREP, the Parental Readiness and Empowerment Program. We offer helpful information, not legal advice. We try to be accurate, but rules can change and may vary by state and district. So what happens if you or your child has a special education related issue at school? Common examples of special education related issues include you would like your child tested for special education services, but you aren't sure how to request it. Your child has a diagnosed behavior disorder but doesn't have a behavioral intervention plan. You believe your child's IEP, or Individualized Education Program, is not appropriate, or you weren't invited to your child's IEP meeting. Your school isn't making the proper accommodations for your child's IEP. You believe the services your child is receiving are ineffective, or you believe your child should be placed in a general education classroom instead of in a special education classroom. Ask yourself, is your child having one of these problems, and did you realize it is a special education related issue? We'll review the specifics of special education in a later video tutorial, but for now, you can use these prompts to figure out how to address questions related to special education. If your child has one of these issues, you should generally first speak with your child's teacher. Your child might have both a general education teacher and a special education teacher that pulls your child out of class during the week for special services. Or your child might have an assigned teacher's aide. Make sure you speak with each of these individuals so that everyone is on the same page. Even if a teacher says she will speak with the child's other teacher, contact all relevant teachers yourself to make sure it gets done. If the issue isn't resolved with your child's teachers, you can raise it at the next IEP meeting. Depending on what the issue is, you may need to request a meeting to address it. If the IEP team doesn't address the issue, or if you're unable to schedule the meeting, you can contact your school's special education coordinator, a person who's more familiar with special education requirements. If the special education coordinator is unable to help or doesn't return your calls, contact the school or family liaison if your school has one. And then the principal if you are unable to contact the school or family liaison, or if your school doesn't have one. If the issue is large enough and still hasn't been resolved, you can contact your district's special education department or the state's special education department. More than likely, this office will be able to help you more than the superintendent. Special education issues can often be extremely complex because of the many laws and policies related to protecting students with disabilities. If none of these people can help you, there are special advocacy organizations dedicated to helping students with disabilities. Or you could reach out to an attorney in your area that is familiar with special education law for an initial consultation. If you believe your child has been discriminated against, you can contact the U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights and file a complaint. Remember, these options might be more time-consuming, but could help your child and others in the end if there really is a problem regarding a school's special education program. We'll discuss the details about special education in a later special education video tutorial, but for now, here's an example of how one special education problem might be worked out.
This is Hector. Hector is in the 6th grade and has ADHD. His Individualized Education Program, or IEP, states that he should get extra time for testing. One day, Hector came to school ready to take the final exam for his social studies class, his last class of the day. Most of his classmates finished early, and everyone finished by the time the bell rang. Since it was the last period of the day, everyone left class to go home. Hector had to take the bus home from school, so he turned his exam in only halfway finished and went home too. Hector told his mom, Sonia, that he wasn't able to finish the exam, and she was concerned, but hoped he still did well on it. But later that week, Hector got his exam back and received an F. Hector's mom went in to speak with Hector's social studies teacher, Mr. Lang. Before she went to the meeting, she wrote down some questions to ask and remembered that she should be assertive instead of aggressive or passive to effectively communicate the problem. She asked Mr. Lang about Hector's grade and reminded him that Hector's IEP entitles him to extra time on exams. She asked if Hector could finish the questions he was unable to finish or to retake the exam. But Mr. Lang said no, because he thought it would be unfair to the other students, and he was surprised that Hector had an IEP. He suggested Hector speak up to let him know that he had an IEP and to ask for more time on future exams. Sonia wasn't sure how to respond and decided to work her way up the chain of command and called Mrs. Perry, the school's special education coordinator. Over the phone, she told Mrs. Perry that Hector's IEP wasn't followed and he wasn't given extra time on his exam, which led him to turn in an unfinished exam, which he failed. She made sure to mention that she already spoke with Mr. Lang, who didn't know that Hector even had an IEP. Mrs. Perry told her that Hector's IEP had to be followed and said that she would speak with Mr. Lang to pull Hector out of class the next day so he could make up the exam. She also reassured Sonia that would not happen again. The next day, the special education coordinator spoke with Hector's teacher and resolved the issue. As you can see, Hector's teacher wasn't as familiar with Hector's IEP or special education requirements as the school's special education coordinator was. Sometimes, teachers aren't notified when students have IEPs, so it's important that you let the teacher know and to keep working your way up the chain of command until someone can help you. If the special education coordinator wasn't able to help Hector, Sonia would have then talked with the principal, then the district's special education department. If all else failed, she could contact a special education advocacy organization or special education attorney to ensure the school complies with the law.
The key takeaways from this section on resolving special education are to make sure that you speak with all of your child's teachers, including the general education, special education, and assigned teacher's aide about your child's IEP, so that everyone is on the same page about your child's needs and special services. You can also request an IEP meeting or contact your school's special education coordinator if your issue is not addressed after speaking with your child's teachers. Remember, the key to effective communication is to be assertive rather than aggressive or passive. Congratulations, you finished resolving special education issues. Remember, it's important to know how the school system is laid out so you can keep working your way up to the chain of command to get answers and solutions for your child. Stay tuned for the next video on resolving discipline issues.